Hey guys, in today's video, we're taking a look at the impact of withdrawing from your retirement accounts earlier than you may have anticipated. This question has come up a lot this year, especially for federal employees with a lot of transition, folks leaving their federal careers earlier than they anticipated, the deferred resignation program, combination with VERA, something like that. So in the video today, we want to cover the options for addressing a potential income gap. We're going to take a look at the impact of withdrawal rates. These things do matter quite a bit. And we also want to take a look at the impact your asset allocation, how you're investing your money has on the long-term sustainability of your plan. So a lot of great info here. We're gonna jump into the retirement planning tool later in the video, but I wanna give you a little setup here. So as I mentioned, we've been having a lot of these conversations this year with the deferred resignation program, folks accepting it in combination with VERA, okay? And with so many federal employees in transition, the job market has also been a little more difficult than maybe we had anticipated, okay? So a lot of would-be job seekers are having a tough time landing what comes next, at least for the moment. And I think that will continue to transition. Things will open up, so we gotta stay positive there. But it has been a little tough. And so that's creating questions around what comes next. If I can't land the job that I want, and maybe I don't pick something part-time up right away, what are my options to address an income shortfall? And I want to share with you an example. This actually came from a conversation I had 2-3 weeks ago with a retiring federal employee. This federal employee, we'll call him Mike, 55 years old, accepted the DRP in combination with VERA and is going to be officially retired as of September 30th. Okay, so he's been on admin leave the whole time collecting a paycheck. That will stop on September 30th, become officially retired. OPM will hopefully process the paperwork in a relatively timely fashion, although we know there's a bit of a backlog building, and start getting him his pension. Okay, he's got a healthy pension. There's going to be a special retirement supplement that kicks in, but not until he turns 57 at his MRA. Okay, so there's a delay there. We took a look at the numbers and feeling a little bit unsure about what comes next. It's going to have about a $4,000 income gap between what's coming in from his first pension for these first 2 years or close to it until special retirement supplement kicks in. And then the other source of income he'll have down the road will be Social Security. Looking at that shortfall of about $4,000, let's put some context to that. So let's put a little context by sharing the balance sheet. And it's pretty straightforward, right? So Mike's got a little bit in savings, about $25,000. He's got $800,000 in a TSP account, and he's got a house that he still has a mortgage on. So there's some home equity there, but we're still paying down the mortgage. He's gonna live there. So we're not gonna include that in the plan as an income producing asset. So for the most part, what we're gonna be looking at here is the thrift savings plan as an income producing asset that can help us bridge the gap that we might have. $4,000 a month, $48,000 a year, that comes out to be around 6% if you're looking at just off the balance of $800,000. Now, of course, this is a pre-tax account, so we're going to need to take a little bit more to account for. He's gonna account for his tax rate. It's gonna shake out to be somewhere between 15 and 20%. So that's gonna increase the withdrawal rate that we need to consider. Good pension coming in, healthcare benefits taken care of through FEHB, SRS kicking in at 57, Social Security kicking in as early as 62, planning to look at that at age 65. And what we're trying to do is land a job that will help us get through these next few years. But if not, we want to look at this income shortfall of about $4,000 a month. So I'm going to jump into the retirement planning tool and we can see Mike's profile set up here. We've got his retirement age of 55 as he accepted the DRP. We've got retirement expenses. This is what we're projecting for about $4,000 a month. Okay, pretty straightforward stuff. All right, so Mike's income situation looks like this. Currently, no salary. Does have the Social Security benefit that we mentioned, available as early as age 62. At 62, his benefit is projected to be $2,350 a month. We've got the special retirement supplement, which will run from his minimum retirement age, which happens to be 57, until he turns 62 in 2031. That's about $19,200 a month. So that's what we're going to build into the plan. And so when we look at the net worth, keep this simple and straightforward. We just put the retirement account on here. The balance currently invested about 60-40. Okay, so that's the investment mix that's currently going on within that account. So if we jump over to our retirement planning module, we're going to see some key things here. And I don't want you to get distracted. High probability of success on this plan, which is great to see for Mike, but there are some concerns, okay? It's always great to see that high probability of success, but we want to take a look at all the assumptions and make sure we're thinking through all the different variables the right way, okay? Because the probability of success is nice, but that number beside it, the ending assets at the end of the plan, if we take a look at that again, you can see based on today's dollars, we're actually spending down his $800,000 portfolio. Okay, so a little bit of attrition over a long period of time. Now, if we look at some of those assumptions, we said Mike is going out at 55. We're going to say his planning time horizon is age 90, $4,000 in monthly expenses. So that's kind of the makeup here that we can kind of play around with. High probability of success, but let's look at some key stats here. And what I wanted to show you was the withdrawal rate. So on that proposed plan, taking $4,000 a month, we can see Mike starts out here in the first 2 years taking over a 7% distribution from his account. Okay, that's based on that $4,000 a month. We'll adjust that for inflation, of course, but also the taxes coming off that. So it drops down when the special retirement supplement kicks in, down to about 5%, kind of hovers around that time period until we get out to age 62, when the special retirement supplement drops off and we see another jump or another spike here in the withdrawal rate, back up to 7% or so. And that's because now we've got a shortfall until we're planning to take Social Security at age 65. Okay, so a series of gaps here, more exaggerated withdrawal rates in the very beginning, and then that second gap that we see between 62 and 65. After that, when Social Security kicks in, you can see it's kind of smooth sailing for a little bit, right? Until we get up to, well, really, this is just accounting for RMDs. So the plan looks good from that standpoint. And really what we need to do is weather the storm of this higher withdrawal rate in those first few years. And it looks like the plan is capable of doing that. Just to have some fun with it, let's go back to our probability. And let's say Mike, he's not able to find a job and we're just drawing down the retirement account for the rest of his retirement until age 90, right? That's probably planning for the worst. Let's just assume that, this is kind of what happens here. That's what our plan is. So of course, in this planning scenario, we're assuming Mike's not getting another job, right? So when he starts out with that $4,000, let's say that jumps up to $4,500 a month. Okay, so your 6% distribution, which is really 7, goes up to 6 3/4, something like that, which is again probably closer to 8 when we look at the table. See how that changes the probability of success just with that $500 a month. So it really is kind of that delicate of a situation when you're talking about taking money from a portfolio. And that also changes. Now you can see your median ending portfolio value in today's dollars also drops down. So you have more attrition in the portfolio. What does that do to the withdrawal rates? Let's take another look at that. So now we're in that first 2 years up over 8%. The second gap that we talked about between 62 and 65, again, almost 9%. Okay, so that's why you see the probability of success go from this 95% down to 69. And if you take it even further, so let's say we need $5,000 a month, which, it's $1,000 a month, doesn't seem like that much, but in context of drawing down a retirement portfolio on a percentage basis, it does matter quite a bit. So we see the plan goes down all the way to a 31% probability of success. What we see here in the withdrawal rate again. So now you're up close to 10%. You're taking out in those gap years in the beginning, and then between 62 and 65, it jumps even closer to 12. So that's why it becomes unstable at that point. It does some serious damage. Now, of course, you have the guaranteed income sources that are going to kick in, the Social Security being the big factor here to take stress off the plan. But in this situation, it's too little too late. Okay. That's what we want to look at when it comes to withdrawal rates. So let's take this back, go back to our baseline of $4,000 in retirement expenses. And it's good to see that probability of success back there. But let's assume we're being really conservative. I think that's kind of where we can run into trouble, as well as being too aggressive. So those are the two variables. We kind of got to find a sweet spot when it comes to investment management. So how does that change the plan? And I think you'll see probably still a high probability of success, but you can see even more attrition here. So just based on managing the assets differently. So we went from probably a 7% projected rate of return with that 60-40 portfolio down to a preservation-based portfolio, which has about a 5% rate of return. And now you can see, this makes me nervous, right? To see this kind of attrition. These are straight line returns. What happens if there is fluctuation in the market, right? The sequence of returns is another big deal here. And I talk about that a lot, but I talk about it a lot because I think it's really important. So you can see that. And then of course, if we raise this to back up to $4,500, you can see it's probably not a sustainable plan, right? Yeah, exactly. So the probability goes really, really low. We want to make sure we're investing properly. Okay. So that's one of the things that you want to consider. Now, of course, being too conservative is one thing. Being too aggressive can also work against you. That can work against you in the sense of, if we have being too aggressive or not, or discounting, what the asset allocation is made up of in your portfolio, your 100% C fund going into retirement, that can work against you too if you have a series of years that are negative, right? And we don't know when that negative year is coming, what the extent of it's going to be. But if you're taking income from a portfolio, that kind of snowballs, makes it really hard to get back to where you were and recover. So those are the big things that we like to point out that you really need to be cautious of, why we think asset management is so important in this context. It gets discounted a little bit, but when it comes to retirement income planning, asset management is really, really important, making sure you're balancing these risks, making sure you're investing the right way to set yourself up for that higher probability of success. And I would point out, with all these retirement projections, this is a starting point. This software is great, but it uses straight line projections. And we can kind of play around with that and tweak, different scenarios, but it's important to adjust your plan on the fly as things change. And just have in your mind that you're probably going to need to make some of these adjustments along the way. So that's what I wanted to cover today. I hope you found this valuable. I know we were talking a lot about withdrawal rates, and I just want to make sure that we're all planning along the right lines so that you can have that sustainable retirement income stream that will last 30 plus years. That's really our goal. So hope you found some value here. If you have, give us a like and a subscribe, and we'll see you next time.